What's going on, YouTube world? Today we're going to be talking about 3 ways that you can increase sales and maximize profits. Let's get into the video. My name is Jason, aka Mr. Llama, the not so better half of The Lazy Llamas, which is the eBay store that I run with my wife, Mrs. Llama.
Dude, it's a llama.
My wife and I, we own a gym. We've owned the gym for almost 9 years, and we started reselling on eBay 3 years ago. And these are 3 tips that we've picked up over those 3 years that have helped us increase our sales and maximize our profits. And we just want to share them with you. Tip number 1, snack baggies.
What did you just say?
I know it sounds silly, but these can be very helpful when listing and selling your items, especially if you're going to be dealing with board games. Board games can come with a lot of very small pieces, and making them look organized is very important. Take, for instance, this electronic banking Monopoly game that I just picked up from a Goodwill for $5. Now, I'm hoping to get around $35 to $40 for this game. But in order to do that, that's towards the top end of the market value for this. I have to make this game look as good as possible in the pictures. And using these snack bags can take a disorganized game and make it look very organized, which is very visually pleasing to the buyer. The phrase of the day is visually pleasing. And as you can see, once I've used these baggies, it makes this game look a lot better and almost in new condition. And when something is visually pleasing to a buyer, they are far more likely to not only click on your item, they're also more likely to pay towards the top end of the market value. Tip number 2, magic erasers. I buy these by the gross.
That's one too many.
And use them all the time when cleaning items. They work especially well on the soles of shoes. Take, for instance, these Jordans I just picked up at a Goodwill. I actually featured them in a Goodwill Finds video. Got them for $20, and I knew the soles were dirty when I got them. I even mentioned it in the video, but I knew I could clean them. And as you can see, with just a little bit of extra time, I've made these look a lot better by using the magic erasers on the soles. Again, I'm hoping to get $90 to $100 for these shoes, which is towards the top end of the market value for these shoes used. Now, if I didn't clean them up, I could probably still get $50, $60 out of them. But since I want to get towards the top end of the market value, I'm going to try to make them look as good as possible. And I wouldn't do this for just any shoe. If this was a $25, $30 pair of shoes and they were asking $8, $9, $10 for them at a Goodwill, so my profit was only going to be about $13 or so once everything was said and done, I'm not going to put that much effort into those shoes.
You're just lazy.
But since the potential profit is so high on these shoes, then I will definitely put in the extra effort to get them cleaned up. Now, I'm not saying you don't clean, low-end shoes. Of course, I clean them up a little bit, but this took a lot of effort to get it cleaned, and I'm going to put extra effort into these. I'm going to even clean them even more before I actually sell them. But for lower-end shoes, you don't need to put in this much effort. But if you're going to make a huge profit margin, definitely worth the extra effort. Invest in some magic erasers. They will definitely come in handy when selling on eBay. And finally, tip number 3, twist ties. Again, a small investment, but you can get hundreds of these for just a few dollars.
That's a good deal.
And I use them all the time, especially if you're going to be selling electronics like I do. I sell a lot of electronics, video game consoles that come with a lot of cords and cables. And you want these to look as organized and as visually pleasing as possible. A lot of people use rubber bands, and when I first started doing eBay reselling, I use rubber bands for cables and cords. It does not look very good. So this is not a method that I would recommend. At the very least, do what I call a tight wrap. So if you don't have any, twist ties, a tight wrap is where you use the cable itself to actually bind itself. It's a pretty easy process. I'm kind of demonstrating it here. You leave a little bit of slack in the cable, you wrap it around, you tuck it through, and it looks okay. So this is a method that I would recommend if you don't have twist ties. At least it looks organized and together. But the best method to use, of course, is the twist tie. When electronics are new, the cords and cables come with twist ties. So this is just a psychological effect on buyers. When they see twist ties on the cords and cables, It's just so visually pleasing. There's that phrase again. And it looks almost new. It has a newish looking effect to it, which is going to make the buyer not only be more visually pleased by your item, so they'll click on it, they're also going to be more willing to pay towards the top end of the market value. Here's some pictures of a recent PlayStation 3 that I listed where I have implemented the twist tie method and made everything look neat and organized. So when buyers look at my item, not only with the good lighting and the white background, the item itself is organized and visually pleasing, which is a psychological effect in sales, which is definitely a real thing.
It's a thing.
That's not a thing.
It makes them more likely to click on it, and it makes them much more likely to pay towards the top end of the market value. Now, I take it a step further. Now, we're going to do a little bonus tip.
Bonus.
When I ship electronics, I take tip number 1 and combine it with tip number 3. I will take the neatly twist-tied, bound cords, and I will put them in the snack bags. This almost makes it look like a new product when the buyer gets it. Every cord and cable is neatly twist-tied and placed in a baggie before shipping. I don't always put them in baggies for pictures, but for shipping, they're placed in baggies and individually wrapped so that when the buyer opens the package, not only were the pictures they originally saw visually pleasing, the package itself is visually pleasing. I almost want it to look like it's new, like they just opened a brand new electronics or video game console. And that is going to make the buyer very happy with their product, and it's going to make them far more likely to leave you positive feedback. And as I've talked about in previous videos, the more positive feedback you get, the more your sales will grow. The more you build your reputation as a good seller, the more buyers are likely to buy from you.
Logical.
And we're going to end the video there. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can see future videos. And I'm going to leave a link to a video I did on how to get positive feedback. It's definitely going to help you grow as a new seller. So if you want to check that out, just click on that. And in case you don't know, God loves you, I love you, and we'll see you next time. Peace.